On this episode of Made in Jackson, we visit Kragenbrink Guitars in Vandercook Lake. Lance Kragenbrink will educate us on the history of his business and will also show us how he goes about creating these beautiful instruments.
Right now I build what's called a 6-string flat-top acoustic guitar, and it's not an electric guitar, it's not a bass guitar, and it's not a 12-string guitar. It's just a 6-string steel string flat top acoustic guitar. Your standard folk guitar, campfire guitar, you know. I want to stay focused on just the steel string guitar for as long as I can. I've had people ask me to build classical guitars, harp guitars, other sorts of acoustic instruments, but my focus is the 6-string flat top acoustic guitar, and I want to keep going just down that road until I feel as though I can branch off and do other things. Right now I'm just completely focused on that instrument. I've played electric guitar since I was 15, and around the time that I was 35 I started playing acoustic guitar, and I really enjoyed the fact that I could sit in my living room and play quietly while, you know, the wife and my kids did their own thing and it didn't interrupt, you know. So woodworking has also been part of my life since 6th grade shop, and I thought one day that I would try my hand at building my own acoustic guitar. They're really expensive to buy, so I thought if I could build one myself, it would be a cheaper way of achieving what I wanted and getting what I wanted. That was of course wrong, because with what I've spent I could probably buy a lot of guitars, but materials and tools and whatnot. But yeah, the flat top 6-string acoustic guitar is kind of a passion that I developed, and I just really love the instrument. I got started researching around 1999, 2000. I bought all the books I could get my hands on. I got on the internet, drummed up all the information I could find, and started just reading and reading and reading before I even cut my first piece of wood. And then midway through 2000, I bought a guitar kit. It's sort of the sides were bent, the neck was made, the fretboard was slotted. A lot of the parts that require specialty tools and specialty jigs was already done for me, and but it still required putting it together properly, gluing it together, making good joints, and putting the binding on and whatnot. That before I finished that guitar, I had started 2 more from scratch, because the process was so enjoyable that I just went full on from that point forward. But it started with research, and then a kit, and then building guitars from scratch. I build about 8 guitars a year, and the progression, they keep picking up. Early on, when I had fewer tools, fewer jigging, and less time, I made fewer guitars, and with more jigging, more tooling, and more experience, the process goes quicker and quicker, and the guitars are better and better. And at this point, I've made 25, 26 guitars, and each year I'm able to make more than I did the year before, just through experience and finding I need this job, this tool to do this job, this jig will help me do this job. And the process is just ever increasing.
We're in Vandercook Lake with Lance Kragenbrink in his guitar shop. Guitar building is truly his passion.
This is a Brazilian rosewood back to a guitar. I particularly like rosewoods. They're very dense, very glassy, and they're very reflective. And they seem to work real well with my building style. Any kind of rosewood. I use Indian rosewood, Brazilian rosewood, Madagascar rosewood, Amazon rosewood. There's a whole bunch of rosewoods out there, and they all have the same properties. They're dense, they're glassy, and they're reflective. And that works really well with my building style. That said, it's again, it's very subjective. I've built a lot of mahogany guitars, Koa guitars, and their owners love them. So I guess it's my ear. My ear tends to like rosewood more so than Koa and mahogany. So anyways, what I'm doing with this here, this is a, let's see here. This is what it looks like first. Just a thin down piece of rosewood with no braces on it. And I take the braces, these are the braces, and they get glued on sort of in a rectangular shape, like so. There's specific places for them. Then I take, once they're glued on, they have to be lightened because right now they're really stiff. There's no movement there. So I triangulate them, basically just removing as much mass as I can from the brace. So by doing that, I don't want to scratch the wood, so I tape down a ruler. The ruler will act as a slide for my plane and allow me to triangulate these braces. Don't want to go too far with it. I'll flip it over to the other side. It's a very high-tech instrument right here. Okay, so that, you can see the difference here. This is the triangulated brace, and this is one that hasn't been. So it just removed a lot of mass from it. After that point, I take a chisel and reduce scallop down the ends on the braces. This will be to fit the braces into the linings of the side of the guitar. And again, removing more mass from the brace. There's no need in having more than what needs to be. So that's sort of a condensed version of what I would do to a back brace. Then of course it would all be fine sanded, right down nice and clean. In the end it would end up looking something similar to this right here, where the braces are finely sanded. This one here happens to have an inlaid power back strip on it, and it will be a cutaway also. And this here is the center reinforcement brace. All guitar backs and tops are book matched, so you'll start with a piece of wood, you'll cut it in half and you'll open it like a book, and you have symmetrical grain patterns on both sides. So there's a center seam that runs right up the middle, and this strip right here is cross grain. It runs this way while the back grain runs this way, so it strengthens that brace and helps prevent it from separating in dry conditions. So these are the bindings on the guitar, and they help strengthen the edge of the guitar for dents and the inevitable bang into the corner of the guitar that you're going to get. I put them on big, they're oversized, and then I have to sand them flush to the body. So that's done by scraping and sanding. So if you look at this side, you can see that the bindings are proud of the edge, and now where they've been scraped flush, they're actually flush with the top of the guitar, and it reveals a little decorative koa line that I've also installed in there. This is a typical guitar. This is my OM finger stylist, and it's made of East Indian rosewood on the back and the sides, and again there's a joint right down the middle here so that you have symmetrical figure on both sides. It has the bindings, which are again the protective edge that runs around here. This is Brazilian rosewood bindings, and it's got a really microfine black, white, black decorative strip that's inlaid all the way around the edge. I don't know if you can see it, but it goes right, it kind of frames in the side. It's got little miter joints on the corners there. The neck is 5-piece. It's got 2 Brazilian rosewood accent strips down the middle of it, and it's also in a satin finish. Normally my finishes on my necks are gloss, just like the back, but I wanted to do a satin finish on this one. Has a Brazilian rosewood fretboard bridge and headstock, and then mother of pearl logo on it. And anyways, it's, oh, and this here is a Adirondack spruce top. And this right here is called a rosette, and what it does is it's inlaid about maybe 50,000ths of an inch deep into the top. And since there's a big gaping hole in the top, what the rosette does is it adds a hardwood into the top, and it strengthens the top so that the hole becomes less of an issue. If you didn't put anything in there, you might get a little, it's a weak spot in the top, in essence, is what it is. So we put the decorative rosette in there to help strengthen the top. It's also braced from the back side all the way around. That also strengthens the sound hole. This is the bridge. It's the anchor point for the strings. The strings go all the way through the top, and they hook onto a maple plate that's underneath the back side of the top. And the pins, they just help hold the strings in place. And this is the saddle, which is compensated. It's shaped to give you an exact measurement from the edge of the nut. This is the nut to the front edge of the saddle. These are exact measurements here, which coincide with the scale length of the guitar and the placement of the frets. So, but good sounding guitar. Anyways, that would be a typical guitar. I prefer not putting any fret markers. These are the fret markers on the side, the dots. They're sort of an index for the player to look down and see where they're at in dark clubs, or dark where you can't see the front of the neck. I like the look of a naked fretboard. I really like the understated, elegant look of guitars. I don't like tons of inlay and pearl and fancy stuff on my guitars. I like everything to be real organic. So that's the. So again, this is a typical OM style guitar that I would build.
Every guitar builder has a style, and that style is what makes every builder unique.
Really, the buying public are what differentiates the guitar builders. I build a specific style guitar. As I continue to build, my style continues to be defined, and you can take my guitars and put them up against 10 other guitar builders, and you'll see artistic differences, you'll see model differences, shapes, aesthetic differences, and also tonal differences, of course. And it's imperative that they play well. That's sort of a prerequisite. You have to have a guitar that plays well, because the player, the interface that the player has with the guitar is most important. Tone is very subjective. One player may like my tone better than a Martin or a Taylor, or vice versa. So that's a very subjective question. So I think that the most important thing is to build your guitars consistently, so that they sound like a Kragenbrink guitar every time you build them, and then get them in the hands of as many people as you can, and eventually you will catch the ear of enough customers that you'll be able to stay in business. One of the things that is really awesome about what guitar building has brought to me is an incredible network of friends. From the start point to the delivery point, there's hundreds if not thousands of communications via email and telephone calls. Usually email, because usually people they'll think of something and they'll shoot an email off to me, and then I'll respond to it. But in that process, it goes from being a customer, client, friend, and then I get to deliver the guitar to them. And then there's an ongoing friendship after that. You know, they report back to me that, you know, that they're enjoying their guitar, you know, how it's maturing, and it has really increased the body of friends that I have. I mean, I have friends all over the country now that I never had, and it's because of the guitar building. You know, it's because of putting a guitar in their hands and the process you go through from the beginning to the end. It's a very intimate sort of interview process to find out what they want and trying to hit that target at the other end of it. You really got to know what they want. The future of my guitar building, the future of Kragenbrink guitars, I would love to be able to reach a point where at some point in my future I could consider an early retirement from my day job. Right now that wouldn't be possible. Children at home, there's a lot of reasons why it wouldn't be possible, but if I continue on the path that I'm on and my guitars continue to grow in popularity as they have over the last 5 or 6 years, then I could see a point in time where I could do this, enjoy it, not burn myself out, and possibly retire a little bit earlier than what I may initially have thought I could. That would be really great.